Tyler, something about this damn state.
We got to stop meeting like this.
I don't know what it is. I was excited. I mean, I'll be honest. This is my first time experiencing the Memorial Magic. I was hoping to avoid this kind of Memorial Magic. I really felt good that this was going to be the time. You get a week off, some rest and relaxation for guys like Andrew Carr, Lamont Butler, a week closer to see what the heck happens with Kerr Kriisa. But, you feel like, okay, regroup after a tough loss at home against a really, really good Alabama team. Let's head down to Nashville, take care of business, and then push all of your chips in on that trip to Knoxville on Tuesday. And then we know what's coming the following Saturday with Coach Cal coming back to town. And this was brutal. It was a really, really tough one, Tyler.
I mean, you kind of called it on our pregame walk and talk. You said that you were worried this could be a trap game. And I think those concerns were really just, magnified when we heard Andrew Carr wouldn't be out. And we'll get to it, but Pope gave a not so encouraging update on Carr after the game that he could be out a lot longer than we thought. But that's not the reason they lost today. I mean, Kentucky did so many things wrong in this loss. That first half was awful. Like the worst half of the Pope era, probably. It was brutal. It's just, with Andrew being out, they had some weird lineups. We got early Colin Chandler and Trent Noah minutes. Who had that on their bingo card?
Weird. Travis Perry. Did all three of them get on the floor at the same time together? Or?
It felt like it. It was odd. You knew that Pope was going to try some stuff with Carr out. I don't think that all of those early combinations and the lineups really worked. I think it kind of prevented the team from getting into any kind of flow. They trailed at 14 at half. We'll get into the comeback here in a minute. I don't want to skip too far ahead. But it just felt really off, almost from the start, and it was just brutal.
What was weird is the start of the game, both teams just came out firing. They came out hot. It didn't feel, we had the defensive struggles, the concerns that we have had coming into this one. Thought we were going to see a little bit better growth there on the defensive side, but whatever. Like, both teams were making shots, and it was like, hey, this is fun, this is exciting. And then the two paths just kind of started going like, whoa. We hit a fork in the road where Vandy just 24 run going into halftime to take a 14-point lead, and it was just like, oh boy, this could be trending toward disaster territory. We thought that, maybe they got their Memorial Magic last week. They upset Tennessee, so maybe the energy wouldn't be what it exactly was. We saw how many Kentucky fans were here. So there was a lot kind of working in Kentucky's favor outside of Andrew Carr, of course, but you just didn't love the response there in the first half to get that final 10-minute segment. I'm not sure why we keep getting those types of struggles. And then we get the comeback. Great start to the second half. The first 10 minutes there, awesome. You feel really good. They get up 58-51, and you're like, well, I think we did it. And then the last 8 minutes happened.
It's like, I really hate it because that comeback was so fun. This building, I mean, I wasn't in a great vantage point. They have us way up there in the crow's nest. So it's impossible to do the percentage, crowd game. Like, I would think it was at least 65% Kentucky fans, and they were loud. Like, when Kentucky took that 7-point lead with 8.5 minutes left, it was just go Big Blue chant after go Big Blue chant. And then it was like you can't even really enjoy the comeback because their execution in the final 8 minutes was just horrible. I mean, I know Lamont Butler is not 100%, and that was clear today. He did not play that great. He had a couple moments in the second half where he looked good, but I think he had 6 turnovers. I mean, we were talking about the first half. Kentucky had 10 turnovers in the first half. They finished with 17 total. That is awful. Just for every moment you wanted to enjoy of them coming back, you get frustrated by their execution at the end. And I think that that's what I'm taking from this game. It's really frustrating, and hopefully not a sign of things to come.
Yeah, I just didn't love the response. I just didn't love the energy. It just didn't feel like Kentucky had that want to that you kind of need to win these types of games. And I don't know what it is about again, we talked about it. It's not that you don't want to downgrade your opponent. But this, how can you get up the way they did? Storming back to beat Gonzaga, the Duke win. What we saw Mississippi State. Just go down the list. Even the Alabama game. The defense was obviously a disaster, but they were hitting shots and they had that fire and energy. But it just feels like for some reason in these, solid games, but Ohio State, Georgia, just go down the list. They come out with kind of the same playing down to your competition approach, and I just don't know. Again, I don't think it's entitlement, but I just don't know how you get that kind of approach when you have a target on your back at the University of Kentucky. So many guys that came in saying, I'm wearing Kentucky across my chest. And like you heard Jackson Robinson saying they got punked and things like that. I just feel like we're hearing a lot of the same terminology after these kind of losses.
Well, and also I thought it was interesting that in the post-game press conference, Pope even said that it felt like the team was playing with heavy feet and just a lack of energy. And obviously, Lamont Butler is not 100% like we talked about, but he kept talking about fatigue and how that played a factor. And coming off of a week between games, that just kind of feels very strange to me. And we should give some credit. Otega Oweh did as much as he could in the second half. I mean, once again, he had 21 points total. 17 of those came in the second half. He became the go-to. I'm going to go to the bucket and I'm at least going to draw a foul or I'm going to score. He just didn't have enough help. I mean, Ansley Almanor hit some huge threes, and Kentucky needed that. Yeah, he was great. He was really good. And we got to talk about Kobe Brea. Just once again, the shooting slump continues. 3 points tonight. He made 1 of 4 3-point attempts. We've got to have more from him if Kentucky's, going to win these games that they should win. They should have won this game today. Even with Andrew Carr out, they should have won. And I get that the easy narrative, the easy headline is Memorial Magic, but I don't even know if that counts today because Kentucky had more fans than Vanderbilt, and they were loud. It just felt like at the very end, just Vandy wanted it more, and you just don't want that.
And that's the disappointing part because you look at the shooting numbers, 48%, 39% from three, not bad. I mean, if you were to tell me that we were going to make 9 threes and shoot 40% from three, I'd say, oh, awesome. Crushed them on the glass, 43-40, 43-30 difference between the two. Kentucky obviously losing the size advantage there with Andrew Carr, but still had the physical presence. But you just go down the list, and things really did work in Kentucky's favor. Obviously, the crowd, a huge advantage as well, but they couldn't close the gap. I don't know what it is about this team that when you have things kind of working for you, it just doesn't feel like they have that want to, that like, all right, it's our time, let's go win this thing. And it was just that last couple of minutes was just like, 6-0 run to close out the game, and that sequence where Amari Williams gets tackled for the rebound. Otega has a 3, rim out. That turns into a 4-point lead for Kentucky with 2 minutes to go. It kind of feels like you have that one. Miss it. Amari Williams gets pulled to the ground. You get A.J. Hoggard. I thought he traveled, but whatever. I'm 90,000 feet up in the air, whatever. Gets a nickel 3 in the corner, and that swing just kind of feels like, well, don't know what you do. I don't know how you recover from that. Just a lot of those kind of little mini swings that we just don't get with this team for some reason. It's weird.
Well, and how much of it can you attribute to Butler not being 100%? I mean, he took another hard fall tonight under that basket and went and held his back, his lower back. And I was just like, I had sympathy pains up in the crow's nest. That poor kid, he's clearly playing hurt right now. And it's just really concerning because if there's one player Kentucky cannot go without right now, it's Lamont Butler. And in these situations, like we saw tonight, he would usually be the guy to step up and push Kentucky to a win, but he just couldn't do it today. And I think it's just really concerning moving forward. Looking ahead, obviously, number 6 Tennessee in Knoxville on Tuesday. We'll talk a little bit maybe about the update that Mark Pope gave on Andrew Carr. It doesn't sound like he's going to be around for a little bit. Pope was talking about how the difficult call they had to make whether or not to play him or to hold him out. And he said that, Carr hasn't been able to practice in 2 weeks because he's in such pain, that he's focusing solely on recovery. And so the staff wants him to at least be able to practice a little bit before throwing him back into game action. So when he gets in a game and he's pushed around, it's not like he goes back to square one. His quote was, what we're hoping is that we can get to a space sometime in the next few weeks, and then he said next few days. I think he meant next few weeks. Somewhere where we have enough confidence that, he hasn't practiced in a couple of weeks, and every game he just gets beat up so bad. So, number 6 Tennessee in Knoxville Tuesday night. emotionally fraught game versus Arkansas, at least for us. I don't think the players care as much about that game. And then I believe it's at Ole Miss the Tuesday after that.
Gosh, man.
How long can you go without Andrew Carr, and are there enough options in case he can't go for Kentucky to, I'm not going to say, I'm just going to say survive in some way this stretch? It's tough.
It's brutal. I mean, it really is. And kind of the same thing with Kerr Kriisa. We just, every time, the initial diagnosis, the initial timeline for a return was 3 to 6 weeks, not season ending, he'll be fine. And then it seems like every single week that we've passed, it gets more and more vague on Pope's side, where it's like, who is Kerr Kriisa? Like, it's weird how that is not trending the right direction. He was walking around looking good, not wearing his boots. So physically getting better, but in terms of like, hey, when is this dude actually going to play? Still very, very much up in the air. Just depth was a massive talking point with this team. I just felt like we were kind of throwing crap against the wall, hoping to see if something could stick, because we might be without two pretty significant guys for the foreseeable future. What happens with Lamont Butler? Can he get back to 100%? If not, I mean, it might be Trent Noah time. It might be a little bit more Colin Chandler.
Shout out to Trent Noah, though.
Been playing a bunch, but yeah, Trent was very good.
That kid ain't scared, man. I love it. He goes his first minutes of SEC action. He just goes in and gets a really tough offensive rebound and put back. It's fun to watch him play. What courage you have to come onto this court, a road game, albeit there are a ton of Kentucky fans, and play as well as he did. It was really encouraging to see, because Kentucky's going to need him. So
another loss away from home. Where Kentucky just doesn't get to the 70-point threshold. It's become one of the main talking points. They're just not getting enough shots up. They're not. They have turned into this hey, once things get tight, it's Otega, you save us. Hey, Jackson, you go save us. They get away from what makes this team so brilliant, where they lack talent, where they lack, some of the just true, pure skill, pro skill. They make up for it with coaching and executions, some of just, the sets and the creativity. They get away from that wholeheartedly, and then it does come down to, hey, who has the better dudes, Kentucky or fill-in-the-blank opponent? And that's where we get to 69 points. That's how we get to the Ohio States and the Georgias and go down the list. Something about this offense, Tyler, has to get better. They have to, trust the process, trust each other, trust their shot making. Stephen was joking before we started that, why is it that Alabama comes down and they launch from where we're sitting at midcourt, and it just takes they have to be the most open, clean look for Kentucky to launch. I mean, 9 makes is great, but 29 attempts from 3 is not good enough
23
for this
23
team.
Attempts.
Not good enough. I don't know how you fix that. I thought we would get a little bit better with some extended time off, but it just feels like we're still back to square one, still searching for more answers that aren't really kind of presenting themselves.
Yeah, and I'm tired of losing to Vanderbilt.
No kidding. God.
I mean, Steven had a great tweet on this. Obviously, we lost to them in football, but they beat us in basketball twice in 2023, including the SEC tournament. As Steven pointed out, they prevented us from winning the SEC outright in baseball, so they're even getting us in baseball. It's just, and for their students, the officials were trying to stop them from storming the court, because they did it last week, which resulted in a $250,000 fine. Students didn't care. They stormed the court again. They have to pay $500,000 for that.
They got 4 warnings.
I know. Candace Lee, their athletic director, was in the student section begging fans not to storm. They're like, we'll use the money on NIL instead.
They're like, forget NIL.
And I usually like to, I'm not a Vanderbilt fan by any means, but they're the little scrappy, little SEC little brother, and I can't even feel happy for them right now. It's just, they're having too much fun at our expense. I don't like it.
I like this building, Tyler. I don't like the result. This was my first time. I did enjoy my experience. The Memorial Magic did not work in our favor, unfortunately. No. I keep leaving these states and these events. This is my second court storming of the year. Got the Clemson one down at Clemson, and then now here in Nashville. So maybe I just need to stop going to games. Maybe it's my fault. If it is my fault, I am sorry, BBN. But
let him know. Let him know in the chat if it's his fault.
It's just not fun. This is not fun. We're sitting where the magic happened and where the court storming happened. So got to regroup. It's going to be a big test at Tennessee, and you do not want to be riding a 3-game losing streak going into that that Kentucky-Arkansas matchup. You just can't. You got to get some good vibes going, some good juju. So, Tyler, let's wrap up.
Yep.
How do you go win? How do you go win in Knoxville? How do you kind of get this bad taste out of our mouths, 2 games losing streak, and not let 2 turn to 3?
Well, Kentucky has typically bounced back in spectacular fashion after bad losses. You know, we saw it versus Gonzaga. Like, maybe that'll happen. I think it would be great if you could have Andrew Carr. I think Tennessee's a much different team than Vanderbilt. They're very physical. They're very, very good. I'm really worried about Lamont Butler against Ziegler. I mean, talk about guard play. I don't know, can we just get all the good energy, healing vibes sent to Lexington over the next 2 days? It's going to be tough, but if this team has proven it can bounce back in good fashion, I mean, I think they have.
No choice. The SEC gauntlet does not slow down. It is what it is, and you either take it in stride or you take losses on the chin, one after the other. So they got to regroup, they got to get healthy, they got to get better, and just not good enough here at Vanderbilt. But I enjoyed myself. Hopefully next time I come back, whenever that is, I can finally leave with a win, because this really does suck. Go Cats.